Hi, welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. I'm Lisa Curcio. Today is Monday. It is October 23rd. The year is 2023, and this is a YouTube premiere, which means I'm live with you right now in the chat. Tonight, I'm going to teach you how to use your designer series paper to make a beautiful Christmas card that you can DIY into a stair-stepper fun fold card. It's lots and lots of fun. You're going to also want to make sure you grab that free project sheet, which is going to be linked down for you in the video description when tonight's premiere is over. It's going to provide pictures, cutting dimensions, and supplies, not only for the card I'm going to demonstrate for you tonight, but for the other samples I'm going to share with you as well. Now, you're going to want to make sure that you log into your YouTube account tonight if you want to chat with us live, or perhaps if you'd like to leave a comment if you're watching the replay. We love to interact with you. And then I want to make sure you know all about that name in blue off to the side with me. It's Gina Curcio Holly. You might recognize that surname. Gina is my daughter. She's the sales and marketing director here at Lisa's Stamp Studio and an avid stamper. She's here with me to help answer your questions during tonight's premiere and provide you with links to help you along the way. I want to make sure, too, that you don't forget to know all about this, the online stamping retreat. There are just a few days left to register. The retreat is coming up this weekend. If you love fun folds, you are in for a full day of them. Myself, Gina, Kylie Bertucci, and her husband, Bruno, have partnered together for several years now to hold this online retreat. So you can watch from wherever, any country. Over on the online stamping retreat website, you'll be able to find a complete list of everything we're going to provide. But here is a quick look. We're going to include 6 live demonstrations throughout the day. That's going to include 32 projects, both in inches and in centimeters. There's going to be 48 prize patrols. I know, right? And guess what? You're going to have lifetime access to all those live recordings, as well as a very vast PDF tutorial. The great part about that PDF tutorial, because there's so many projects, it is thumbnail driven, which means all you have to do is find the card that you liked, click on it, and it's going to automatically navigate you to the correct page. It's an incredible event, and we would love to have you join us. Again, onlinestampingretreat.com. All right, we're ready. Let's get started. I'm using a piece of Poppy Parade cardstock. Now, this measures 5.5 by 11, and we are going to do some simple scoring. I've got my paper trimmer here, and I absolutely love this trimmer with Stampin' Up! Because it includes both the scoring and the cutting blades. They stay on that clear track at the exact same time. They just navigate up and down out of the way. Let's go ahead and start with those score lines. We're going to work on the long end, which is the 11-inch end, and the first score line is going to be at 3 inches. So I'm going to use that ledge here at the top to make it nice and straight, aligning it up at 3 inches, and then we're going to score. We're going to move over now to 6 inches, which is all the way here against the edge, and then we are going to score. Now, there's an extendable arm on this trimmer, which I love, especially for these bigger cards, or perhaps you're using scrapbooking page sizes 12 by 12. So for here, I'm going to move this over now to 7 1/2 inch. I've lined that up here, making sure I'm nice and straight against that ledge, and then we are going to score. And then I'm going to move down to 9 inches. And then we're going to make sure we're against that ledge once again, and we're going to score, and there's one more at 10 inches. So I'm going to line that up and make sure we're nice and straight, and we are going to score. Now that is it for the scoring. You'll need your bone folder for this. Now I know it's going to be difficult for you to see, but there's a score line here, and then the smaller score lines start. You want to start here. This is going to be the actual center or base of the card. So we're going to fold that in half. I'm looking here and here to make sure it's well aligned. Going to use that bone folder to reinforce them. Now this is a matter of accordion folds. So this first one is going to go down towards you, and again check those edges, make sure it's nice and straight, and then go over it, and then we're going to go back on top. So we're doing mountain fold, valley fold, mountain fold, valley fold. Super simple, just like an accordion. And then this one is going to come down, and then I'm going to reinforce all those score lines. You can see now it's going to look like this. So this is the actual base of the card, and then we've got those stairs to make the stepper card. Let's go ahead and decorate the steps, and I'm going to talk to you about the best part for the images. I've got a piece of designer series paper here and a piece of basic white cardstock because I wanted to layer these. This designer series paper comes from the Garden Walk Designer Series paper pack. And this is one thing I love about Stampin' Up! Designer Series papers. First, they're double-sided. Second of all, one side doesn't have a theme, which is reminiscent to the paper, and the other side does. So you can use them all year round. So I'm going to flip that over. I've got my silicone craft sheet underneath here. That's going to help protect my work surface from adhesive, liquid glue, or even if you're using hot glue on a crafting project. And then I've cut this just 1/8 of an inch bigger all the way around, and we're going to go ahead and just line that up. Now I'm looking to create even margins on all 4 sides the very best that I can. And then once I'm happy with it, we'll go ahead and tack that in place. I'm going to flip this over now, and we're going to add adhesive to the back side. I'm using Stamp & Seal Plus. It is extremely strong, so I don't need to cover every inch of it. Now I'm going to decorate the steps that are going to be facing outward. So here I'm going to flatten this to make it easy so that you can see it. At the very bottom and the front is where this one is going to go. And you're looking to center it within the bottom of the cardstock and the top score line above my finger. Once you're happy with it, just go ahead and press that in place. Remember, this is going to come up. So the next step now is in essence here. Now I've already added the designer series paper to the cardstock. And for this one, I decided just to go ahead and use all the exact same pattern. But the beauty of the designer series papers with Stampin' Up! Means that you can mix and match. And I've got some great samples for you tonight. So I'm going to open this up to make it flat for me again. Remember, step, skip, step. Put that right between here, the bottom score line and the top score line. And then once I'm happy, we're going to press that in place. So I'm going to bring these back up so that you can see them. And you're going to see now this is the rear stair step. And again, I've already got the designer series paper attached to that white cardstock for you. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my adhesive to the back side. And now we're going to add this here. So again, I'm going to make it flat so it's easy for me to see. And I want to make sure that you can tell that there's a score line here, which is where the card bends, and the score line here. So I'm looking again to center it the very best that I can. And then once I'm happy with it, we'll go ahead and we'll tack that down in place. I'm going to go ahead and collapse all these again so that you can see how this is going to come together. Now the best part is how you put the images on here, and it's not like you think. So let's start with those. I'm going to grab some basic white cardstock here. This is a scrap. I've got my Memento black ink pad, my favorite black ink, especially if you're going to use alcohol-based markers, which I'm going to do tonight. This is the ink pad you're going to want to use for alcohol-based because it's water-based ink, so the alcohol will not bleed. This adorable image came from a fun stamp set called Gift of Giving, and it's in the mini catalog, and I think it's well overlooked. I'm having a lot of fun with this. I personally love to color, but if you don't, I've got all kinds of tips for you. So just color certain areas, stamp it in color on white cardstock with coordinating paper, and you're done. We're going to use this cup image, and you're going to see that the ink pad is relatively the same size as my stamp. So I'm going to turn that image face up on my table and ink it this way. That's going to make sure that I don't miss a spot. It's also going to make sure that I've got good even coverage. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp that right on top of here. I'm trying to decide which way I'm going to go, what's going to fit better. I think I'll go this way. Lots of firm, even pressure. I'm pressing out the design. I'm now reaching for one of the little holly images that's inside that stamp set. And I'm going to stamp that here off to the side on the top because I'm actually going to use them independently. I left the cup white, but I want to talk to you about coloring the cookie. I used 3 different colors of Stampin' Blend's alcohol-based markers. I loved the crumb cake because it looked more like a cookie, but I decided it needed a little bit of depth. And this is where I want to teach you a wonderful trick about using your alcohol markers. Don't be afraid to use a myriad of color families to get the tone that you're looking for. So I'm going to start with the chiseled end, which is the thin line here on my marker, of the light crumb cake. And I'm just going to color in this cookie. Now, I'm not going to color in the whole image with you tonight because I already have one that's finished, but I want to show you how I created this. Now, the alcohol ink needs a few seconds for the alcohol to evaporate before you lay the next color. That's very important. But I'm going to go a little bit further. I'm going to add a little bit of this around my marshmallows. And you might be thinking, ew, that sounds horrible. But I know that my cup is going to have cocoa in it. So my marshmallows are not going to be perfectly white. So I'm going to give them a little pigmentation and wait till you see what we do with those. I'm going to switch over now to the dark. Now remember, this is definitely dark. So we're going to go over those little chip areas. And I'm going to add a little continuity here around the bottom and the sides. I've never called myself a professional colorer, so don't think that you have to be perfect to do this. Do you see how I got a little bit of color there inside that berry? I don't want that. This is where the color lifter comes into play. But I'm really kind of glad I made that mistake so I can show you how it works. Not only will it lighten color that's been laid down, but it will also help move the color. So I'm going to lay that colorless alcohol marker right here, and I'm going to kind of slightly move it down to where my mistake is. Do you see how it looks wet? But it's actually moved the color away. That's going to actually help with fixing my mistake. Now, you don't want to add color there until that's completely dry, but I'm also going to use this here to kind of lighten up that light crumb cake I put there. I just want that a little bit muted. Now that this has had a little bit of time to dry, I'm going to come in with the light pecan pie. Now, this is where you can add even more depth. So I'm going to kind of go just a little bit around the outside here, a little bit on my chips, just to give this a little bit more color. Now, the one great thing that I love about alcohol-based markers is they are buildable. So once you allow that alcohol to evaporate, you can come back and you can blend over and over again. I'm coming back to the light because this is where the magic is. And I'm going to use small circular motions on this one because this is a small area. And I'm going to blend the light and the dark together. And like I said, if you don't end up with the color exactly like you want, let the paper dry from the alcohol concentration and then add more color. I did color in the holly, that's pretty simple, but I have one that's already finished for you. Now you might be wondering, well, is there a die? And the answer to this is no. I did fussy cut this, but I want you to know it was not difficult. I went right around the outside and just a little bit around those leaves. It was not hard at all. But to spruce this up, I thought we needed a little bit of shimmer. Now I want to introduce you to this. This is extra fine glitter. This is not a Stampin' Up! Product, but it is linked for you on my website under Shop Craft Room Favorites. I have fallen in love with this because it's super, super fine and it has a slight iridescent look. And I don't know about you, but with my holiday cards and even sometimes with my florals, I want that extra pizzazz. I'm going to recommend that you use a paper coffee filter to kind of catch all the mess, and I've got some tips for you about that as well. I'm going to bring in that silicone craft sheet once again, and I'm going to lay my image on top of here because we're going to need to put the glue down where we want the glitter to stick. Now, Stampin' Up! Sells an amazing multi-purpose liquid glue. This is in my online store. It's called the Tombow Multi-Purpose Glue. But I find even that this tip is not narrow and fine enough for me to be able to get in those little tiny areas. So I upped the game by finding these precision tip glue applicators. Now I have this linked for you in the same place I have the glitter on my website under Shop Craft Room Favorites. It comes with a silicone lid, and I have a rubber band here to hold that lid in place. That was a YouTube viewer's idea, and thank you for all your tips. I like to get it started here on the silicone craft sheet because I don't like surprises. And I want to make sure I can get those little tiny, tiny dots. This is wonderful for those little precision areas. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put a little drop here, and I'm using that needle tip to kind of dissipate it on top of my little marshmallows. And I'm going to do this all the way around. Now you do want to work fairly quickly because the glue does dry fast, which is one reason why I love it, but it's also very, very strong. I'm not particular to make sure that I have it everywhere. I'm going to move this. I'm going to come over the coffee filter. Now there's a shaker here and a pour lid. I'll be honest with you, I find it much easier just to open it up like this. I'm going to hold it so the glue is away from me, and I'm going to shake. And this is why we're using the coffee filter. We're going to tap off the excess, give it a good flick, and look at that. Isn't that fun? And it gives it texture as well. Now this is going to take just under a minute to dry, and you might be wondering about the waste here. Yeah, I get it. So the coffee filter, you can literally pinch and funnel, and then I can pour all of this right back in the jar. Now that may be really difficult to see, but you can see that I've done that successfully. And then we're going to cap this. Now you might be like me and love the look of glitter and love the way it looks on your project, but you hate the mess. So I got you. Get yourself a sticky lint roller. This makes all the difference in the world. It cleans everything up, lickety-split, and you don't have to worry about that transferring to one of your ink pads or to any part of your project. When you're ready to put the glue away, I want you to pinch it through your silicone craft sheet. You don't want a gunky tip. And then use that silicone lid that comes with the bottle. You're going to want to store that upright. I have a piece of Poppy Parade cardstock here, and this is just a square 2.5 by 2.5. But what's interesting is that cup we just made is going to go on the diagonal on here. Now, if you're like me and you don't do anything straight, I've got a great tip for you. You're going to put a little tiny bit of adhesive there. I like to touch it with my hand because the oils in your skin will help break down the adhesive because it's going to be a temporary hold. And I've taken the grid papers that are sold in my online store. I've cut them up so that they're a little bit smaller on camera for you. Those grid lines are my saving grace. So I'm going to align the top of that diamond and the bottom of that diamond so that it's nice and straight, and that's being tacked down. Then I'm going to take my image and I'm going to flip this over, and I am going to use my dimensionals. So I'm going to go ahead and pick those up, and I want to make sure that this is well balanced for mailing. So I'm going to dissipate these around the back pretty well, and then I'm going to put a couple more here on the side. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool. That paper piercing tool attachment is one of my very favorite things. I have osteoarthritis in my basal joints between my thumb and index finger, so this does all the pinching for me. So that pulls them all off, and it also keeps them wrinkled. Let's go ahead and take that, and with this all nice and aligned, I can see exactly where this needs to go, and then I'll just give that a good tap. Now, if you're wondering if this is going to rip, no. What you're going to do is you're going to lightly twist, and that releases the paper, and you can see mine came off very, very easily. This is going to be off to the side, and then I've got another one here that I've already done with a greeting from that stamp set. Now, this time we have a different size square that this is going to go on, and that is here. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's add some adhesive here to the back side. This is one reason you're going to want to layer when you use the alcohol-based markers. Do you see how it's kind of bled through the back? And that's the sign of a good alcohol marker. I'm going to adhere this, leaving a nice margin all the way around, and we're going to tack that in place. But I've got one more panel. And for this one, we're going to do a little bit of stamping. Here is my next diamond. I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive just like we've done before, and I'm going to use that grid paper to my advantage. So you can see those little grid lines there once again. I want to teach you this trick because if you're looking to use an image that has a direction, this tip is going to be very important. Not so important right now because I'm using an abstract image, which is what we're going to put here. I'm going to be using the Poppy Parade ink that coordinates with the cardstock. That's the beauty of Stampin' Up! Products, is that color coordination. From that same stamp set, look at those cute little snowflakes or sparkles. We're going to ink those up, and we are going to stamp them randomly across here. Now, this is why I love these nice long images, and of course your grid paper is going to prove double duty here, right? Let's turn this so we have a slightly different pattern this time. And if you go over an area more than once, like you double stamp it, it's quite all right. Don't worry about that. And we're just going to go ahead and just fill this to create a random background. You can go ahead and use the end of your stamp to provide a little bit more snowflakes to certain areas if you want it. Just like before, you're going to give this a slight twist to release the paper. You might be wondering, well, you've already got adhesive on there. Do we need more? And I always say yes. So we want to make sure our cards don't fall apart when they're going through the mail meter. And then once again, I have another piece of Poppy Parade cardstock, and we're going to layer this to leave that border. Now that we have our three pieces, we're going to start putting this together on this Christmas Stair Stepper card. The very first thing I'm going to want to do before I add these diamond shapes is talk about the back end, because this is where I decided I wanted to do my writing and signing. I also want to call your attention to the fact that you could obviously do it inside here, but I'm sure it's as intuitive as flipping it over for the receiver. So there's no right or wrong way, it's up to you. That I did ahead of time. So I used that same stamp set for those little snowflakes. I used a fun greeting stamp set. We'll add some adhesive to the back side now, and then this is going to go here. So remember, this is opposite or mirrored from the front. And once again, you're looking to center this between the top score line and the bottom of the card. So now we have the stairs and the back. You're going to want to work from the back forward. So I'm going to collapse this down, and I'm going to open this up so I can see the score line is here right below the white cardstock. You're going to look visually for the center of the paper. The point of your diamond should not come too close to the crease, obviously, because if you collapse this, this is going to get crunched. I'm going to use dimensionals to elevate this. So I can see I can use them at my points down, but that is going to change as we start layering the other pieces. So let's go ahead and take our dimensionals here. I've got one here at the back, one here, and one here. And because I'm very cognizant of balancing for mailing, I'm going to add another one. And then we'll remove those paper backings once again. Now that we have our dimensionals on the back, this diamond is going to go here. But I want you to try to find visually the center. So you can look here and here on either side of your diamond. You do not want the tip, again, near the crease, otherwise it's going to get crunched. Now once I'm happy with it, you're going to tack that in place. This is the positioning for all the other stairs on this step. So what you're going to do now is you're going to collapse this one, and we're going to work on the next bigger size, which is this one here. Again, I'm going to hold it to get an idea of positioning. And this time what you're looking for is you're looking to make sure that when it's flat, you can have a little bit of the border from the layer before it, which is why you work from the back forward. But you can see that this is a lot shallower, right? So the dimensional is going to have to go here and very, very close to it here at the bottom. So let's go ahead and flip that upside down. So we're going to place one here at the bottom, and I'll grab two more, and they're going to go very, very close to it. Let's remove those backings. And then this now is the exact same thing that we originally eyeballed. So we're looking to make sure that this is going to fall within that outline of the step behind it. So once I'm sure of where it's going to be, making sure it's not going to get crunched here at the bottom, we're going to tack that in place. Then we are going to fold up the last one, and we have one more step. Now you might recall we had a little bit of adhesive here on the back to hold that in place so we get our image straight. Now you can try to rub it off with your fingers, but like I said, that adhesive is very, very strong. So I have an adhesive eraser or a pickup that I absolutely love. And I have that linked for you on my website under Shop Craft Room Favorites, and that just saves my arthritic hands as well. Now that I have this ready to go, I'm going to do the exact same thing that we have just done previously. I'm going to hold this and get an idea of placement because I need to know where to put the dimensional. So I'm going to do a dimensional right here near the bottom. So let's take one of those, making sure I didn't lose my placement on that, and we'll put that right there, and then we'll remove that paper backing. This now is going to get collapsed one more time, and we are going to center this here. Now I cannot wait to share with you these other samples. And again, just making sure we've got that nice border at the top, and we're going to tack that in place. If you find you need a little bit more help back here, let's talk about what I call card surgery. These full-size dimensionals are probably going to be too big. So if you need to, bring in the mini dimensionals. And I love these because they're already pre-cut and ready to go. I'm going to remove the paper backing while it's right here on the paper. And then I'm going to pick this up with my Take Your Pick tool and card surgery. So we're going to place this exactly where we want it to kind of hold it there and give it a little bit more security if you should need it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the exact same thing now. And then we're going to do the same thing now on this side. So let's flip it over so you can see a little bit better. And then this one's going to work down here. And then we're going to press. So that's going to give it a little bit extra stability. Give it a good crunch. And now your card is all finished. And I love that it's freestanding for display. You still have plenty of room to sign it. And if you want to include a family photo for Christmas this year, this is a great place to put it. So this is the first one. And as I said, that stamp set is called Gift of Giving. Now let me show you the others. For this next card, I'm using the Joy of Noel bundle. So it's the stamp set and the coordinating dies. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to want it as a bundle. Not only do you save 10%, but I love that the dies cut out those letters, and they don't cut them out as a square. They cut them out independently so you can use them in any formation that you choose. And here is that gorgeous card. So very simple, very traditional Christmas color palette. And again, it's freestanding. So at the front, I added a little bit of bow to kind of hold those hollies, which were all die cut. And then there's your center panel, and then the back panel. And of course, plenty of room on the back to write and sign. So, so pretty. So now we have two. And the last one uses the stamp set called Sparkling Snowflakes. Can never go wrong with a great snowflake set. But the great thing I love about snowflakes is they pair with just any designer series paper your heart desires. And you're going to love this one. This designer series paper is called Shining Brightly, and it's a specialty paper because it has foils in it. Now you might be looking at this thinking, Lisa, you didn't do a very good job heat embossing it because I see speckles around the snowflake. Well, I did that on purpose. So instead of using the embossing buddy on the cardstock, before I stamped my greeting, I did not because I was looking for flecks. I will tell you that I was careful to make sure that it wouldn't distort my words, and then I heat set it. And I heat set it from the back of the cardstock versus the front so that I didn't lose all those little tiny flecks of gold, just to add a little bit more sparkle to this. This Night of Navy and gold ribbon is absolutely stunning, isn't it? And that's just on there with a glue dot. I used gold foils to extend those panels and give them a little shimmer. And that back panel is all those gorgeous snowflakes that I heat embossed on Night of Navy paper. But do you see the difference with this one? I intermingled the designer series papers so that they were different than versus these where they were the same. And again, freestanding, and here is the back of that card. Save those scraps. They're fantastic for the bottom or the inside of your cards. Absolutely beautiful cards, and I love that they stand up all on their own. I would love to know your feedback, so do me a favor, pop down right now in the comments and let me know which of those cards is your favorite. That helps me so much as I'm demonstrating and designing projects as we move forward. If this is your first time here at my channel, I would love for you to subscribe and hit that like button, which is the thumbs up here on YouTube. It helps me immensely if you've enjoyed tonight's project. Head over to my website and scroll to the bottom to the word subscribe and sign up for my free weekly e-newsletter. And if you love ideas, you are going to love this. This is Stamp Studio memberships. Every week on a Monday, I will send you a tutorial to your inbox with a brand new project idea. There's level 1 and there's level 2. Best of all, it doesn't matter what country you live in, we are able to help you. These fresh ideas are going to provide you with ideas for layouts and color combinations. Level 2 also includes a fun fold once a month and some extra perks that you'll find here on the screen. And then finally, mark your calendars. I will be back with you next Monday, which is October 30th already. I look forward to having you here for another amazing fun fold card demonstration. Thanks everyone. Have a great evening.